Concord news. We got some news on Concord, the new shooter that's coming out. But before we get into it, something kind of pertaining to it is ex-Destiny and Halo producer says live service games are better for developers and players. And I read the headline for this and I said, ooh, I'm saving this article because nigga, what? The moment, if it's a state of the play, Nintendo Direct, Summer Games Fest, Xbox Showcase, whatever showcase we're watching, the moment live service comes out of a developer's mouth when a new game is announced, everybody says, bleh! Maybe 6 years ago, we would have tolerated it, but people are sick of this shit. So this headline was interesting to me. A former Halo and Destiny executive producer at Bungie has said the live service model is so much better for developers and players than the one-off $60 or $70 purchase model. Elden Ring fans say otherwise. We get a lot of value for $70 in Elden Ring. Speaking of PC Gamer, Theorycraft Games CEO and former Halo Reach and Destiny executive producer Joe Tung said the traditional method of buying games, meaning to make a single payment around a $60 or $70 game, causes developers to make decisions which are not in the best interest of players. This is an interesting take because, keep in mind, live service games is a fairly new thing in the last 10 years. Gaming has been around since what? Late 60s, 70s, early 70s? So like 50 years now? In the last 50 years, the $40, $50, $60, and $70 game was never an issue. We have 50 years of evidence that suggests gamers like paying for one thing and getting that product. But in the last 10 years, you mean to tell me all of a sudden everybody's just changed? Like, no, they want to buy skins. Players love $20 skins. They love it. That skin that used to be, that alternate costume that used to be in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, they love paying for it in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. They love it. I always felt like in the $60 box product model, I was having to make decisions that were not in the best interest of the player, Tung said. It was in the best interest of how do we sell as many copies in the first 48 hours as we can. One of the huge strengths of games as a service model is you can be long-term. You can think long-term in terms of what's best for the player and how does that overlap with the best for the company. I think it allows you to make much better decisions overall. Then why are so many live service? There are more bad live service games than there are good. What the fuck are you talking about? Tung referenced the now defunct E3 and the trailers and gameplay clips which premiered there, promising what he called bullshit vaporware that players would never actually get to experience because all developers had to do was convince them to spend $60. What are you talking about? You know that really awesome trailer you saw at E3? They don't want that. That's bullshit. This shit sounds like a psyop to try to fool us into wanting live service games. I would wager that any developer who's ever worked in the $60 box product model up until the point where E3 was canceled has a story about the E3 build, he said. It's like, let's jam as much bullshit vaporware into this build as we can in the next 3 months because we have to have a huge showing at E3 because it's our one opportunity to take our audience before we launch the game. Talk to our audience. Okay, do you not do that for live service games? What does that have to do with anything? What are you talking about? When you showcase a game, you showcase a game. And everybody knows when a game first premieres, we know y'all be hyping shit up. We know you're going to remove features. We saw what happened with Anthem. We saw what happened with Watch Dogs. We know these E3 Summer Games Fest trailers be amped up and then you dial it back. But whether it's just a base model $70 game or a live service game, it's going to happen either way because your goal is to sell something to us. So what the fuck? How does making it a game that doesn't end for 15 years make it any difference when you announce it? This is a crazy take. I would have to wager that some hugely significant percentage of those E3 efforts ended up on the cutting room floor because they were half-baked and caused people to crunch and really make huge sacrifices to get it in, Tung said. That's my favorite example of hugely impactful decisions that were not about what is the best for the player. It's like we're just taking all the history of humanity and taking things that work and throwing it out because a few new things did work. That's a recipe for disaster. That's why a lot of you niggas don't know how to talk to women. I don't know how to get a girlfriend. Stop messing. The worst thing you could do is approach a woman and say, what's your Instagram? What's your Snapchat? That pussy gonna dry up. I've had women tell me this. The moment that nigga asked me for my Instagram, you ask for the phone number. And if you get denied, that's cool. They still gonna respect you. You ask for the Instagram, now you're following her, now you're a fan. Not that type of fan, not the freaky ass nigga, but you know, you're a fan now, you're a follower. It's the same shit. There's some things from the old school that just work, the cold approach. And then there's some things that are new that come along and you add it into the repertoire and you improve it. But what he's talking about, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, bruh. Ask for the email. Live service, on the other hand, allows developers to continue working on games after launch, communicate to the audience to see what the player actually wants, and so on. What the player actually wants is a finished game. Tongue therefore believes the game, like, I hate the idea of like a game like Suicide Squad coming out and being like, okay, or X Defiant, okay, maybe I just gotta wait for season 1 for shit to get good. I don't like that. Just make a good game. The topic has proved controversial amongst gamers, with many frustrated that even single player games now have microtransactions, pre-order bonuses, early access periods, so on and so forth. Yeah, we know, just blah, 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 blah. This is why Destiny missed profit margins last year by like 45%, right? Another thing I don't know about that. I think another issue with live service games is like every good thing comes to an end. Like, I feel like if a live service game is good, it's genuinely good at launch. Best case scenario, you have a 2 to 3 year shelf life. But when you're at the top, there's nowhere to go but down. And that has nothing to do with gaming. That's life in general. You have nowhere to go but down. This is corporate greed. This idea that we're going to put a game out and milk it for 15, 20 years is bullshit. That is, the World of Warcraft is an anomaly. It is an anomaly. Most games will not be World of Warcraft. And the sooner you understand that, the better you'll do. That's what I got to say about that. That's what I got to say about that. Or Final Fantasy, that's an anomaly. Not Final Fantasy. Oh yeah, Final Fantasy 14 and Grand Theft Auto. Those are anomalies. That's 3 anomalies. It's a rare thing. Yeah, an anomaly is never the standard. And the moment you start to try to make the standard the anomaly, you are bound to fuck up. You are bound to fuck up. And you can actually argue World of Warcraft has expansions where it slightly reinvents itself. Yeah, because people were putting more effort back in. And I'm going to pivot that into a recently announced live service game at the State of the Play. Well, it wasn't announced. It was announced last year. It was revealed. It was called Concord. Kind of got a lukewarm reception. We got some new details as well as a preview, a first look. Shout out to my man Kami on Twitter. He tweeted out, Concord's open beta runs from July 18th to the 21st, free for all players. Early access beta July 12th to the 14th. The full game has 16 heroes, 12 maps, and 6 game modes. Post-launch content like seasons will be free. Single life and respawn modes. Movement is floaty and reminiscent of Destiny or Halo. Most characters have a double jump. Some have a triple jump or dodge moves. Heroes have 2 abilities and a passive skill, but no ultimates. Each free gunner has a unique weapon and health pool. Before match, you have to select a small crew of heroes to choose from, and you can only swap 2 during the game. Each hero can be selected once per team, but there's no role limit. Destiny shooting with slightly slower movement and around double the time to kill of Call of Duty. And there's weekly story vignettes. What the fuck does that mean? I don't know how I feel about slow movement. So Heroes, Destiny, I'm down. We got some screenshots right here. And then literally right before I started streaming, I saw this video on the timeline. GameSpot got to preview it. So let's check it out and see what they got to say. I feel like this game got ragged on a little too hard. I wasn't like super impressed, but I wasn't down on it. This is one of those games, it's a free beta. I'll try it and hopefully I like it. But like, I feel like a lot of people are like shitting. I was like, it didn't look that bad. It didn't look that great either, but
Concord. The hero shooter subgenre is a difficult space to break into, and cultivating a dedicated player base is even tougher. After seeing Concord's gameplay reveal last month and its lukewarm response, I would have told you Firewalk Studios' debut title would likely fall flat on its face. However, after spending a few hours with Concord earlier
that sniper rifle looks exactly like the sniper rifle in Destiny. That's crazy.
They don't
even try to hide the influence.
This month, it's clear that PlayStation and Firewalk Studios have built a solid foundation for its sci-fi multiplayer shooter.
Solid foundation.
Mechanically, Concord sits somewhere between Overwatch and Valorant. Gun combat plays a big role in the moment-to-moment gameplay.
I hope the shooting is nothing like Valorant. God, please.
But fast reaction times and pinpoint accuracy aren't the be-all and
it does look slower, actually. Yeah.
Each hero, or free gunner as they are called, boasts a unique primary weapon.
All right. Yo, whoever's the GameSpot editor needs to be fired. Because whatever gaming journalist was playing the game, why you should have cut that footage. Did y'all see that? Yo, y'all are not beating the accusations that game journalists fucking suck at games. But even if y'all do suck at games, you gotta fire the editor, because the beauty of video on demand is you can edit that out. Put your best clips in. What the fuck is this? The nigga's not even fighting. Oh my god.
And two primary.
That was a struggle kill right there.
Time to kill lets all these different abilities show without undermining the tight end response.
The editor hates that dude.
Requires good team composition, an understanding of each character's abilities, and a bit of raw skill. While most free gunners still fit into a traditional role, such as tank or support, they feel a bit more flexible than their
It looks like there's a little bit of recoil right there. Do y'all see how the gun is
traditional
the DMR? You see how it's like the spray pattern? This might be a skill-based game. Look at the recoil.
Tank or support, they feel a bit more flexible than their Overwatch counterparts. You'd think Starchild, the blue and red behemoth with a large health pool, would be the ideal tank, but thanks to his well-rounded kit, including a primary ability that essentially turns him into a wrecking ball that charges across the battlefield, and his shotgun
giving me
that
some
doubles
Rogue Company
his ass,
vibes.
he can fit into an offensive DPS role with hit-and-run tactics.
I'm getting Destiny meets Overwatch type of vibes.
In the back half of one game, I racked up a half dozen kills by outflanking.
I don't see Valorant, because he said Valorant. I don't see
10 of the
Valorant.
free gunners I tested out felt deadly in their own way while still playing towards specific roles. Vale is a sniper equipped with a bolt-action sniper rifle, a pistol,
stop streaming,
proximity
Siggy?
mines, and an enhanced vertical leap. She thrives at range where she can pick off weakened enemies, but thanks to her trip mines, she can also control the flow of the battlefield. All three maps I played consisted of 3 interconnected lanes, and while a couple trip mines carefully placed along these corridors likely won't stop an enemy team, they are sure to slow them down. Meanwhile, Lennox is Concord's
They handed out trophies in the alpha build.
McCree. Armed with a 6-shooter,
Tired,
explosive throwing
beat the
knives,
lion and
a
Renala.
self-heal ability,
True.
Lennox
2
feels
demons
like
in one day, I feel you.
High DPS character. Lining up headshots is
No mimic tier, right? No mimic tier?
abilities at the right time can get you out of some sticky situations. Lennox
I feel like I'm watching a revamped Paragon. Really? This don't look like Paragon to me.
captures that high-risk, high-reward playstyle. His self-heal makes him viable for lone wolf tactics, and if you can consistently land headshots,
No mimic,
most
no
enemies
summon, no
won't
L2.
live that long. My favorite free gunner was Hamar, a crossbow-wielding spellcaster.
This looks fun, not gonna lie. It doesn't look bad to me. Like this game, I would put this in the category of it looks like it's worth trying at least. Like, I didn't understand the hate for this game.
Fires an incendiary bolt that can deal significant damage on direct hits. Her abilities consist of a blinding flash that disorients enemies.
Margaret
and a
is kicking
wall
my
of fire
ass.
That can create
You
choke
gotta pass the first
flying
wall.
around combat zones while essentially flashbanging enemies and laying down walls of fire while teammates cleaned up the stragglers was a blast. Free gunners and their abilities aren't set in stone.
Why did he highlight that? Yeah, this editor hates this journalist, because look at this. He said getting a cleanup kill is a blast, but he didn't get the kill. His teammate did. Watch
Cleaned up the
this.
stragglers was a blast.
Now he dies. The guy right here kills him. The guy right there killed him, and then he getting a cleanup kill is a blast. You didn't get the kill, nigga. You suck.
Abilities aren't set in stone either. Firewalk Studios hopes to keep combat fresh with something called combat. Each freerunner has a set of combat traits that act as perks. For example, Lennox had one that let him automatically
This aim is
reload when he
crazy.
dodged. This felt a little unbalanced in a PvP setting, especially when the main drawback of a revolver is its slow reload speed, but it definitely has me curious to see how these combat traits could affect a free gunner and their role within the team.
It makes me wonder, is his aim that bad or is it the recoil? And then also, another thing too, to be fair to him, when you get invited to these preview events, you don't get to control what platform you're playing on. They might be playing with it. Yeah, well, yeah, it's because of the triangle. They're playing with a PlayStation controller. I'm not gonna lie, my aim would probably be like this too. I hate shooters with a PlayStation controller. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt then, because shooters on PlayStation fucking are ass.
Flexible free gunner roles and combat traits feed into Concord's asymmetric combat. Each free gunner has their own set of strengths and weaknesses thanks to varied health pools, weapons, and abilities. This means that some heroes may pair well with each other, while others don't. For example, there's a support character named Da who can put down AoE heal stations.
No, his clips
and
is trash.
fields that block off
The truth is somewhere in the middle.
Da is great for holding down objectives and keeping Starchild covered at long range. However, my team quickly
this coming
learned
to
that Da's
PS5
force field
and
ability
PC?
could negatively
I don't know
impact
if
all our
if this is coming to
medium
Xbox.
long-range heroes at crucial moments.
What makes shooters on the PlayStation so bad? I'm curious. It's a matter of preference. Like if you like the PlayStation controller for shooters, hey, more power to you. I'm talking about strictly not as a whole. This is my personal opinion. This is me talking. I don't like playing shooters with a PlayStation controller. The analog stick setup, it doesn't feel natural to me. I like the kind of the adjacent analog. I like the Xbox controller will always be like the greatest controller to me.
Ollie on
Shout out to Loki with the sub, appreciate it.
A bit more precision thanks to his healing orbs, similar to Zenyatta's.
It's just the hand
orbs
placement's
are
weird to
made
me.
from Overwatch. Seeing how all these different free gunners could complement each other and counter the other teams makes firefights feel dynamic and unpredictable. Firewalk Studios has opted to lean into that asymmetry of its characters. While this will undoubtedly make specific matchups more difficult, this imbalance forces you to work as a team and use your character's entire kit. Of course, the Firewalk Studios team will be monitoring balance once the game ends up in players' hands, but according to Claude Jerome, the lead gameplay designer,
is that just shooters?
That asymmetry is crucial to Concord's.
Yeah, just shooters. Action adventure games, they're doable on the PlayStation controller for me. The only time I'll struggle is like, I was definitely struggling in Stellar Blade, that third to last boss fight when he put the orbs in the air. There's a moment where you have to shoot the orbs or you'll auto die. I was struggling with that just a little bit because like the PlayStation controller is just not accurate for shooting for me.
Heroes and game.
But like God of War, I was
However,
fine.
This asymmetry is not reflected in Concord's game modes and map design. I had the chance to check out 3 different game types: Trophy Hunt, which is basically kill confirmed from Call of Duty, and Cargo Run and Clash Point, which are round-based modes with no respawn. As someone who's played over 500 hours of Rainbow Six Siege, Cargo Run and Clash Point were the highlights for me. The limited respawn and objective-based gameplay required a level of coordination that you don't always get in team deathmatch style modes. And unlike Siege and
Translation, you're gonna have to team shoot.
Valorant, Concord's symmetrical maps meant that both teams were at an even playing.
Although it's kind of hard to take that opinion seriously. He's arguing you need the team shoot, but he also can't shoot. It's kind of hard to complain about damage output when we have 8 minutes of footage of you bricking like 75% of your shots.
Field at the very start of each round. This makes it easier to focus on team composition relative to your team rather than your starting location. While Concord's mechanics may tread a lot of familiar ground within the hero shooter genre, the way Firewalk Studios' heroes, maps, and game modes complement each other feels fresh. Each free gunner has just enough flex.
Like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, you suck, dude. He's got
maps,
what I think is a grenade. I think that's a grenade launcher. The dude's in the air. Why are you? What are you doing? Switch to your pistol. What are you doing?
Complement each other feels fresh. Each free gunner has just enough flexibility to break out of their role if they need to. The simplistic arena-style maps prioritize smart ability usage over intimate map knowledge, and the game modes are just complicated enough to encourage teamwork. I'm curious to see if and how Concord holds up with more maps, characters, and game modes thrown into the mix.
Shotguns look weak. He hit every shot. That was like 4 or 5 shots.
Combat, I'm not entirely sold on the universe and the story Concord hopes to tell. Free gunners are outlaws that speed around the galaxy looking for adventure. Each week, Firewalk Studios will
Maybe the editor wasn't a hater. He tried his best.
That plays when you boot up the game. These vignettes will shape an ongoing narrative.
Crazy, he said he played a ton of Rainbow Six when he's shooting his bad. Yeah, we don't believe you.
The studio showed us the first one, and its tone gave off a "we have Guardians of the Galaxy at home" sort of vibe. Maybe it could build to something more interesting, or maybe I've just grown tired of that Marvel-esque tone, but it didn't do much for me in the moment.
Quick quip.
I also wonder how Concord plans to onboard new players if they've missed the first few weeks of the story. According to the devs, they will make all these vignettes available on YouTube and other social platforms, but I can't imagine players will actively seek those out. For players who do want to learn more about Concord's universe, there's a galaxy map similar to something you'd see in Mass Effect. You can glide around the map to inspect planets and read flavor text. It's a fascinating way to present Concord's lore and history, but it doesn't affect the game.
Yeah, how does the story plan
Customizing
out?
your crew,
It's a multiplayer
loading into
game.
multiplayer matches, and checking your player stats are all handled through traditional menus. The Galaxy map is simply designed to add.
Are you just gonna get random cutscenes after 3 wins? Like, how does that? What up, Fallout? I'm just catching up on news.
Sony is investing heavily in the games-as-service market, purchasing Bungie for $3.6 billion in 2022, and supporting something like Firewalk Studios' Concord fits nicely within that strategy. However, to sustain these kinds of games, you need a dedicated player base that is willing to invest a lot of hours over a very long period of time. Overwatch, Valorant, and Rainbow Six Siege managed to find that player base, but so many hero shooters never do. Battleborn, Lawbreakers, Quake Champions, and Battlecry, to name a few, failed spectacularly. I hope Concord is able to find that audience because the core gameplay loop is there. But
I wonder if there's aim assist. Yeah, I can't tell because his aim is so
history
bad.
has not been kind to the hero shooter genre.
Healing pad coming up. Healing up. Give me a sec.
Sounds like he gave it a, we'll see, out of 10. Meh, we'll see. It looks okay. We'll keep an eye on Concord. You ready to be stuck as a tank again? You know it.